Hi everyone, today I'm gonna teach you how to use the Krita animation tools. So it's actually not a animation tutorial per se, it's actually just how to use the Krita way of doing animation. So there's actually two ways of getting into the Animation Workspace. There's the first one, which is going to be to the right upper corner. You're gonna click on Choose Workspace and click on Animation. That's the default workspace for animation. I'm actually going to go back into default just to show you the second way. So the second way is actually to bring up the animation Docker individually. So what you can do is actually go into settings, Dockers, and then animation timeline. And that's the animation tool. That's the main animation tool. So what you're going to do is actually, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go into the Animation Workspace, which is a little simpler, but I'm going to bring back some Dockers because I'm not actually a big fan of the palette. The color palette here is a little bit limited. So I'm going to click X on it, go back to settings, Dockers, and bring back advanced color selector. So here it is. So it's actually the basic color selector. And I'm also gonna bring back the brush presets because I kind of like having multiple brush to paint or to animate. So you see now I can use like some fairly complicated brushes to animate. So it's always better to have more variety in your animation. So how to actually animate in Krita? So you actually have your timeline here. It's fairly common in most animation softwares. And what you want to do is basically draw a keyframe. Well, that if you draw, it's going to be on the first keyframe here because I have it selected. But what you can do to have it a little more clear is actually I'm going to remove the keyframe, and once you remove a keyframe, you can actually create a new keyframe. I actually cannot because it's the first keyframe, but if I go to the second keyframe, I can create a blank frame. And that's gonna create a brand new canvas. So if I go back to my first frame and draw a smiley, for example, and I go back to my second keyframe, boom, it's gone. So if I want to see my first keyframe with onion skin, you can see here there's the Docker for onion skin, but it's actually not enabled. And to enable it, what you need to do is click on the little light bulb here. And here we go. So red is previous frames and green is next frames. You can see it here. So if I go, for example, in this, create a blank frame, and then I'm gonna draw a new smiley, a not happy smiley, you're gonna see it's actually green and then red. So that's basically how you use the animation Docker. It's fairly simple. So every new keyframe you want to create, you just create a blank frame. If you want to create a duplicate frame, you can do the same thing. If you want to copy paste multiple keyframes at the same time, for example, if I want to loop this animation, you're gonna grab the first keyframe or the last keyframe, go back to the first keyframe or the first keyframe you want to copy, just copy keyframes, go back to the new keyframe you want to copy past all those keyframes. Copy paste, and then you're gonna paste keyframes, and here you have it. So it's a little animation, and then when you when you play the little animation, it's gonna be fairly quick. And there's actually multiple blank frames, so that's the reason why we don't see them constantly. That's why there's a blank keyframe sometimes. So if you want to render this animation, what you can do is go back to File, Render Animation, and you're actually gonna want to download FFmpeg, which is actually the codec or the system they use to render files. So I'm gonna put a link down in the description to download the FFmpeg. And what you can do is once you are here, you click on this and you choose the FFmpeg file, and then basically what you can do is render your animations. And that's basically it. When you click OK, it's gonna render. I'm not gonna render this because it's quite useless to me, but yeah, you get the idea. One last thing I would want to cover is the clip start and clip end. So basically it's how much keyframes is going to be rendered, or how much keyframe is you can have in your timeline. So if you go and click here, you can actually like press 1000 if you wanted. It's a bit crazy, but you could use 1000 keyframes. And also the frame rate, which is very important. Usually it's 24 for most movies, anime I believe, and well, basically anything, but you could animate in 60 frames if you're like very crazy. But that's basically it. Thank you for watching.